Wait, one at a time.
Yeah, guys. Guys.
Okay. Voila. Okay.
Walleye, northerns, sunfish, and bass.
Okay.
I go for salmon and catfish.
Salmon.
I'll go for anything.
Anything?
The only thing I really don't like is sunfish though,
Yeah. How are you?
because they eat things.
I do like crappie, bass, and if I'm like just in the open sometimes I catch like northerns.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do penguin, but mostly not. Well, I try to get salmon, but mostly I catch catfish.
Okay. All right. Where all do you guys fish?
Like Spirit.
Spirit.
I think like cabin, we have like steak.
Okay.
And a cabin with some sort of
Okay. Cedar Lake. That's good.
In the river and sometimes at Pepin.
Okay. Yeah.
and St. Croix.
St. Croix. Yep.
I do it at Horseshoe Lake, and then like once a year I go to Webster, and they do it at a lake around there.
All right.
Yellow Lake,
Okay.
St. Croix, and when I'm in Florida, I have an uncle up there, so I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. All right. You fish the ocean at all in Florida? Or?
I don't really pay attention to that.
Diamond Bluff.
And in Bluff? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Either down here or up north on my cabin.
Okay. So it sounds like a lot of, like the bigger rivers, like the St. Croix and Mississippi maybe, and a bunch of lakes. Is anyone ever catching trout? Trout?
I had one on
I tried to catch
Trout?
trout.
Where'd you catch the trout? Lake Superior?
I caught one in the back in the river by my grandma's parents' backyard.
Yeah? Okay.
I don't know what it was, but I don't remember what it was called. But we caught a really big trout, so me and my brother decided that to release it.
Okay. Cool. Well, I grew up in Hudson, just north of here. When I was your age, during the summer, I would fish the St. Croix River and Lake Malibu just about every day. And I never caught trout in either one of those. But we did have the Willow River in Hudson, and I would fish that probably every other day. And I would catch trout in there. So what's the difference? Why was I catching trout in the Willow River, but I wasn't catching them in Lake Malibu, I wasn't catching them in St. Croix or Mississippi?
The type of lure.
Water? Yeah. Well, what's different about the water?
I don't know where Lake Malibu is, I guess, so.
Lake Malibu is, separates Hudson from North Hudson. So, it's just a lake, yeah. Yeah.
Is it like kind of like pollution?
Pollution, yep, that's a big thing. So trout require really, really clean water. They can't tolerate dirty water. Like you can catch carp out here in the St. Croix and they can live in a mud puddle. You know, the trout wouldn't survive just minutes in a mud puddle. So you're right, it's gotta be really clean, unpolluted water. Yep.
Doesn't it have to do something with the ocean type, freshwater or saltwater?
Yep, it's gotta be fresh water. You're right, trout don't live in salt water.
With the water? I think that's it.
Yep. So, like, you guys are really lucky. You've got the Kinnickinnick River just north of here. You got the Big River just south of here. And both of those contain trout, and those would be, I would classify those as streams. Yep. You do? Yeah? All right, you're lucky. And I should qualify that, you know, trout can live some, you know, not around here, of course, but, because we don't have an ocean, but trout can, live in
Some-
oceans and they can go back up the
Some
rivers, yep.
breeds of trout.
Like salmon and cutthroat, sea-run cutthroat trout, yeah.
What do you do with the trout?
What do I do? I just release them.
Okay.
You fish for the fun.
What about, like, what is the difference between, like, trout and streams and stuff and lake trout?
Lake trout?
Yes.
Well, lake trout, so I mean, you've got brown trout eggs, okay? And brown trout, that's the predominant species that lives in the Big River and Kinnickinnick. But they can live in lakes as well. There's like Perch Lake in Hudson, and you could find some trout in there. Someone said they were fishing Lake Superior, right?
No one.
Anyway, they can live in those big lakes, but there is a specific species of trout called the lake trout, okay? So there's like brown trout, brook trout, rainbow trout, there's cutthroat trout out west, and lake trout are a specific kind of trout, and they are not found in streams, they're found in lakes. You can find those in Lake Superior. You can find those in the boundary waters, in northern Minnesota. If you've ever been there, you can find lake trout there. I don't think Wisconsin and, you know, other than Lake Superior, I don't think you would find lake trout in Wisconsin. Like, so these are brown trout. You guys can look up what the world record is for, or state record for brown trout in Wisconsin. I'm betting it would probably be close to like 30 pounds. It would come from either Lake Michigan, probably. But if, say the Kinnickinnick, if you catch anything over 20 inches, that would be like a trophy. That'd be a really big trout.
So, how many trout is there in
Well, it all depends on their size. So you're gonna start off with like 350 eggs. So you're gonna have like 350 trout in there, hopefully. I mean, there's some that are gonna not gonna make it.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yep. So I mean, if you kept them in there, you know, for an entire year, you need to get a bigger tank, because they would just get too crowded. By the time school year's done and you release them, they'll be about that big.
Okay,
So you can easily have 350 trout that big in that tank.
what kind of trout are they going to be?
It's gonna be brown trout.
Okay, and do trout take, how long does it take for a trout fully grow?
Fully get, well, I mean, they're just gonna keep growing every year. Yep.
So it's not like people and they stop growing.
Right.
They grow
right.
until they die.
You keep growing, yeah, for their entire life. Yep. Okay, so I want to get back to like the difference between like the Kinnickinnick and the St. Croix River. So you've got like both in your backyard. So we determined that clean water, we need really clean water, right? And that's one reason why we won't find them in the St. Croix. What's another difference between the St. Croix River and the Kinnickinnick River?
Well, isn't the St. Croix really murky?
Yep, it's not, definitely not as clean. There's more pollutants.
won't like to live in that.
Yep. Any other reasons? What's that? Yep, one's definitely bigger, but trout can live in a big, big river or a big, big lake. It doesn't matter. Yep. And why don't you find trout in the St. Croix River? Yep. How about this? What does this say? Can you want to read it? 52. So that's 52 degrees. That's pretty cold. If you were to stick your finger in there, that's cold water. Would not want to swim in that. In the summer in the St. Croix River, it's not going to be 52 degrees. It'll be 75 maybe or so. Really, really warm. Could get up to 80, I mean, in the shallows. And trout can't survive in that kind of temperature.
What?
They really, it's like 52 degrees, that's like optimum for them. And they can get down, they could live in just above freezing water to probably, 65. They're starting to get stressed. They could maybe live up to 70, but temperature is one big reason why you're not gonna find them in most of the lakes around here, or the St. Croix River, or the Mississippi River. Yeah?
Why can't trout tolerate the heat of the water and murky, dirty water?
Well, so one reason is their oxygen requirements. So trout require a lot more oxygen than other fish.
And that affects their condition of the
No, so water temperature, like cold water, can contain a lot more oxygen than warm water. So that's why, so it's not so much the heat that would kill a trout, it's the lack of oxygen that would kill a trout, and warm water doesn't have as much.
And then why can't you tolerate like
You know, they're just really sensitive. The way, they're, I guess, a relatively new fish on the planet. They evolved a lot later than, say, the carp. The carp is just, they've evolved and they can just tolerate higher level of pollution. And among trout, they can tolerate different levels. So the brown trout can tolerate warmer temperatures. They don't need quite as much oxygen as some other trout, and they they don't need as clean water. Let me ask you this: what was the only trout that Wisconsin had when the settlers first got here?
Wasn't it rainbow trout?
Nope. Rainbow trout's not native to Wisconsin.
Brown trout?
Nope. So the rainbow trout came from the west coast. They brought that from the west coast. The brown trout that you guys are gonna raise, that originally came from like Germany and Norway. So the European settlers, they brought trout eggs from Europe all the way over here. Anyone else know what trout is native to Wisconsin?
I know it's not cutthroat trout.
Right. Those are all out west too. That's good.
Good.
Yep. Nope. It's the brook trout. Yeah, the brook trout's the only native one. There's still some brook trout in the Kinnickinnick, especially the south fork of the Kinnickinnick. That's like all brook trout. They require even cleaner water and colder water. So kind of what happened is when the settlers first got here, it was all brook trout. What did the settlers first do when they got to Wisconsin?
They fish.
Yep, they did fish for food, yep. What was the main occupation when they got here? What did they do for a living?
Farming?
Yeah, farming. What they did was, in order to get farmland, this is all like forests, so they cut down all the trees, pulled out all the stumps, they plowed everything, and started planting crops. Well, if you cut down all the trees along the trout stream, it's not shaded anymore, right? So the sun is always beating down on it. And if you do crops right up to the stream, every time it rains, all that rainwater washes the dirt into there, so it gets dirty, gets cloudy, and all that dirt it absorbs sunlight, and so it warms up. So all of a sudden, you didn't have the brook trout anymore. So what they did was they were like, well, let's find we still like trout, and the brook trout aren't living very well. So let's find another species of trout that we can put in there that can tolerate that dirtier, higher temperature water, and the brook trout can tolerate that. So that's why you guys are raising brown trout put in the Willow River, because they can tolerate the higher temperatures there.
When did trout evolve?
Did trout evolve? Like, I believe right after the last ice age.
Oh,
They evolved off of another fish.
Nora, I think you're developing a great trout research project for yourself.
I think so.
They evolved off of
Really
another
good
fish.
question. Yeah, you'll have to research that more. I'm sorry, that's a really good question, but I'm not sure.
When I go swimming in Willow River, when you get down, there's this little puddle, and it's like downright freezing.
Probably found a spring. So one thing I'd like to touch on too, so I got these trout eggs this morning way up in Frederick, Wisconsin, like hour and a half north of here, maybe 2 hours. And so when I drove all the way down here, I crossed the Willow River where you guys are gonna be putting your trout. I crossed that like, I don't know, 3 times. And every time I crossed it, I looked into the river. It was all covered with ice. Now I just crossed the Kinnickinnick River to get to your school. No ice whatsoever. No ice whatsoever. So what's going on there is the Kinnickinnick River has some really good springs still. And what those springs do, so it's always bringing spring water into the river. And that spring water comes out of the ground at about 55 degrees or so. So right at your temperature you guys are at, basically. And so that spring water keeps it colder in the summer, and it keeps it warmer in the winter. Because in the winter, today it's going to be, or it's supposed to be like 37 degrees, and so that would be the maximum usually that the water temperature could be on a day like today. And 37 degrees isn't optimum. If it gets below 32, you're going to start to see ice. And what ice can even freeze on the bottom of a river too. They call it anchor ice. And that can freeze all the trout eggs and the little fry that are living in there. And so the problem with the Willow River is it freezes in the winter and it gets too warm in the summer. And the Kinnickinnick River doesn't have that problem. So the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, the DNR, they don't stock the Kinnickinnick River at all. They don't add trout to the Kinnie at all because it has natural reproduction. Whereas the Willow River, they have to add trout to that every year because it's just not as good of a trout stream. So they have to help it out, and that's what you guys will be doing. You're going to be helping it out, helping stock it.
Why is 55 degrees of good weather outside for anyone?
Say that. So
So, you said that 52 degrees right there, and you stuck your finger in this, that
Yep.
it was freezing and you would not want to swim there.
right.
But if it's 50 degrees in the air, like not in the
Really
air,
does.
Yep.
it's good. Good, decent weather. Well, it's good, decent weather to me.
Yeah, I like 55 degrees too, but I probably wouldn't be running around in a swimsuit out there if it was 55 degrees. So it's all relative, right? If I'm swimming, you know, I'm gonna get wet. I'm in a swimsuit, and then I would probably feel cold.
Well, you can have one of those full bodies.
If I had on a wetsuit, then yeah, 55 degrees, I would swim in that. And I would be just fine. Yep.
So my mom's friend has a cabin,
Yeah.
and that's where I caught that baby sunfish. And so we went on a boat,
Yeah.
and we found an area where the water was super calm, not very hot, like I'd say 63 degrees, and there was a ton of algae
Yeah.
there, but I saw some bass.
Okay.
But when we didn't catch anything, we went back to the cabin, and under the dock that they have,
Yeah.
we caught tons of fish.
Okay.
I'm guessing fish like shade.
Well, that's an interesting point that you just brought up. So under the dock, you caught a lot of fish. So we've already determined that trout need clean water, they need cold water. What else do they need to survive? They probably need someplace like think
Really?
of like a dock. What is that giving the fish?
Shade.
Shade, so it'd be cooler, so that'd be colder water. What else does it give them?
Give some protection.
Exactly, a place to hide, right? A place to escape. Well, what's good? What likes to feed on trout?
to say. Don't sunfish eat other eggs?
Yep, they will, yep.
That's what I wanted to get rid of that sunfish.
Hawk? Yeah, birds are a big predator for trout. Bald eagles, ospreys, they'll swoop down and grab them. Herons.
Hawks.
If I'm fishing on the Kinnickinnick, I always see herons. They're always walking around grabbing fish. Kingfishers. Yep.
So when we release the fish, how much will actually survive at the end of the day? Or not the end of the day, the end of the day? Once we let them go.
Once we let them go? That's a good question. You should look up trout that size. Yep. Like what sort of mortality rate can be expected, because
Isn't that like one?
other fish will be eating them and whatnot. So yeah, it's good. I don't know what percentage will make.
Another research project, Nora.
So, down at the Willow River, there's that little spring area that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know how cold that is, but it froze my feet almost, so I just ran out of there. I would guess that there would be a lot of trout living in that area, like baby trout.
Did you say it was the Apple River?
The Willow River.
Willow.
Were you at you were at the falls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's this
Yeah.
little spring area. It's super
You know,
shallow.
I've seen that. I've seen that. You
It's
can see the water coming out of there. Yeah, that'll be really cold. That would be a good area for trout.
Like just baby trout.
Yep. Okay,
Alright.
so
Okay.
so another thing that we've established is they need something for protection, right? It'd be great if they could have some deeper water, because if they're in deep water, there's no way an eagle, eagle and ospreys, they pretty much catch fish on the surface. Okay, they don't dive under the water to grab stuff. Even herons and kingfishers, they like to
Stare at
hunt
the edge.
fish in the shallows. If it gets too deep, they can't hunt them anymore. Can't see them very well. It'd be great if there's some logs, some big rocks they can hide underneath there. So one other thing about farming practices, when farms first opened up here, when all that dirt runs in, the water gets a lot more shallow too. So there wasn't deep water for the fish to hide. So that was another problem. All right, so we've determined that fish need cold water, or trout need cold water, clean water, places to hide. What else does a fish or any other organism, for that matter, need? Food. Who said food? Answer. All right, so what do trout eat? Yeah.
Don't they eat plants? No. That sounds wrong.
That's okay. It's a good guess. Yeah. Yep. They'll eat other fish. Yep. Yep. They'll eat worms. Yep.
They'll eat anything smaller than
Yep. Fish eggs. Yep. And they love to eat insects too. Okay.
They're very good.
Yep.
They're very
So there's a lot of insects that live in trout streams, and they'll hatch. And later on this year, we'll have a guy come in, and he'll bring in a whole bunch of bugs, and if you want stream insects, and crayfish, and helmogranis, and caddisfly nymphs, and mayfly nymphs, and you guys can handle them if you want to and stuff. Okay, so that'll be cool. So that's what trout like to feed on, and it just so happens that all those insects, they like cold, oxygenated water as well. So that's, again, another
It's
reason
like-
why the trout like cold water. Yeah.
So you put insect on your hook, you're gonna kill them.
Yep, we would.
I was gonna say that, I never knew that trout ate crayfish.
Yep, they love crayfish, yep.
At Willow River, I see a lot of crayfish.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
a crap ton of crayfish.
Uh-huh. Yep, they love to eat those. All right. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
I only see them upstream though.
What's that?
I only see crayfish up the waterfall though.
Okay.
I'm guessing crayfish like a little bit warmer water.
Yeah, that could be.
All right.
Anything else? You guys want to see the trout eggs?
Yeah. I'm
So one
guessing
thing-
they are really
Okay.
small.
No, so one thing you'll notice too, if you take a look at them, especially like magnifying glasses.
Mm-hmm, yep, I have them on the tables, yep.
Why did it?
One thing that's pretty cool, you should
Guys.
be able to see two eyeballs. And you should be able to see like the little spine of the fish. And if you look real closely and just concentrate on one, sometimes you can see them move around in the egg. Okay?
Okay, yeah.